Because I don't want to do, like, actual tier list content. I just want to think of, like, who my top 5 would be. Maybe top 10, actually. Gene Cheese, which one? None of these are Gene Cheeseable. Technically, Gene can stagger the Shock Trooper so that you can, skip the shield phase if you keep it staggered the whole time. But you won't be able to do fall damage abuse. Should people, is there a point to talking about flimsy NFF for lore? Shouldn't people who have that just use it on the Shock Trooper? Not necessarily. The thing that you're gonna realize once you go and attempt this shit is that the Lord is way harder than the Shock Trooper. And you can probably brute force Shock Trooper with something else. But if Flynn's is your only Nogcry carry, you might not have literally any other team that can do this. Didn't you fail to brute force a Shock Trooper with Mawika last time? I did. But I got a lot better at Mawika since then. And Durin came out, which would actually be really good for the Mawika team you bring here. Would he actually? Maybe not. I don't know. My Mawika build is also a lot better than it was last time this guy was here. Anyways. So, okay. We can have Flynn's and Nefer here. Right? Because, like, Flynn's and Nefer are definitely making the top 10. Right? Like, when you look at this, I think that the characters that will be able to clear this are definitely Flynn's and Nefer. I think Mawika Sucrose might do it. I don't know if you can actually properly melt the dogs or the birds that the Lord spawns without any grouping. So I'm not sure if you can actually do this with Chilonen or Aeon Sun. If they're not close enough to all be melted, it doesn't work. By the way, do these get knocked back by stagger, or is it just suction that moves them? I think it's just suction, right? I'm pretty sure it's just suction. So, overload teams could work as well. Maybe. How much HP do the dogs have? They're birds, not dogs. But they have 20% of the boss. No, 18% of the boss's HP. So, about 2.5 million. And you just need to kill all 4 of them. Have fun. Is first boss doable without lunar damage? Yes, but it'll be really painful. But yeah, I think the characters that, like, can brute force this are probably Mwalani can probably brute force. Mawika can probably brute force. Not sure about Varessa. My Varessa will be able to brute force most likely, but without grouping, I don't think Varessa's hitting all of them. Without grouping, I don't think Skirk is hitting all of them. Maybe burst Skirk with 2 bursts is enough. You won't be able to get 3 bursts, but you will be comfortably able to get 2. If 2 bursts is enough to kill the dogs, then you're fine. If it's not, you're cooked. But you could do it with Neuvillette, Skirk Neuvillette. Or you could do, like, do your setup, then do a burst on Skirk, then immediately use your hold E after. Like, do it, like, slightly warped setup that gets that gets a skill after the second burst. Right? Maybe that's doable. Or, like, you know, melt with Bennett Kazuhashi Lali. The problem with that is getting your first Sucrose burst, because Sucrose burst is the only real way you have to group the birds, and Sucrose burst is 80 energy. So without Lunar on the team, it's kind of hard to group them, because Lunar, like, hitting the boss with Lunar gives you a fuck ton of energy, but without that, it might be a little rough for Sucrose. Like, you probably have to go fully R Sucrose. So you probably want to go Kazuha, right? Kazuha is worse, but it's not that much worse for Arlecchino. Does Arlecchino have the damage to brute force it? Maybe. Probably. Yeah. Arlecchino has an upside, which is that in AoE content with more than 2, or with 2 targets or more, or just, in AoE content in general, she gets 145 Bond of Life instead of 130, right? Because it's 130 per target, capped at 145. So in AoE, you can actually get more. But Melt is so cringe in AoE. That's assuming the enemies move, but it seems like they're going to be very, very stationary. I think Arlecchino should be able to do it. I mean, obviously Zabai will be able to do it. Arlecchino probably can't do it with Overload, because she needs to have a grouper, for sure. Colomina carry, yeah. Colomina carry probably gets through it without too much of a problem as well. And then, like, maybe Skirk. Maybe Neuvillette. Nilo. I don't think the birds spawn close enough to each other for Nilo. Maybe I'm wrong about that one, though. Yeah, so this would be boss 1. So the Lord. Then the Shock Trooper. Tropper. No. Trooper. And the Crab. So for Crab, it's like Neuvillette, Molani, right? For Trooper, Verissa, Skirk. Skirk might be able to do Crab as well. Maybe. Inefa teams without Flynn's. With Columbina, probably get this, right? Otherwise, you're definitely not getting the Lord done. Skirk would nearly break the shield with Neuvillette and set up a good Skirk rotation. Should do it. Yeah, but that's just a Neuvillette team. Neuvillette doesn't need to have Skirk on the team to do that. And Skirk needs to have Neuvillette on the team to do that, right? Like, will Skirk be able to do it without a Hydro carry doing the heavy lifting against this boss? I don't actually think so. Because, like, maybe you're fine. Maybe you're fine if you do your setups really well and you end the setup right as you swap to Skirk, and then you do burst into skill. Can you get 3 downs without someone like Neuvillette? If you use, like, Singto? Perhaps. Okay, so who's definitely making the top 10 if I'm making a top 10? What the hell? They changed the UI for this. Alright, so, like, these are definitely making it. I don't know if I want to include Llama and Inefa. Because, like, obviously they are in the top 10 units. But they're not really team-defining units, right? Like, you're not playing Inefa by herself and expecting to get good results on the Lord, right? But I guess they still make it, right? Then we get 2 more. Probably Escoffier. And then which of these 4 takes the 10th spot? Generally, or for next Stygian? Probably for next Stygian only. Probably Skirk. I don't know. Skirk is better at brute forcing the Crab, but I don't think Skirk brute forces the Lord. And Mawika does. Right? Skirk brute forces Shock Trooper. Yeah, it's easier to brute force Shock Trooper with Skirk than with Mawika. That's fair. Is this only the 5 stars? Yeah, because, like, the 4 stars that are good are either too versatile to really be team defining. So, like, it doesn't really tell you much about what they're, like, what team they're in when you say they're good for this one, right? Or it's Chavarz, and Chavarz isn't that good for this one. Alright, the only boss Chavarz is good for here is this one, and this is the easiest of the 3 bosses by far. Is Arlecchino even in question here? Yeah, because Arlecchino will probably be a lot easier than Mawika to do this. What about Chaska? I don't really want to include Chaska here, because, like, any Chaska team that can clear this will be able to clear without Chaska. Right? So it's like... ugh. And then Chaska does not have a good matchup for these 2. Can Flynn's clear Lord without Colomina or Inefa? I think so. I think Flynn's Fischl, Durin, Ino played optimally would just barely be able to clear. Don't know if you do that without Ino C6, though. Why is Escoffier there but not Skirk? Because Escoffier is better than Skirk for this Stygian. Way better. Because Neuvillette and Molani are quite good, and their most reliable team option for this is likely just going to be Freeze. You can also do it with Skirk, but it means that Escoffier is going to be a fairly impactful unit in a bunch of different teams that are good. What Arlecchino team would you even use on Lord? Arlecchino, Bennett, Kazuha, Citlali, most likely. I guess? Like, now that I think about it, maybe that's just a Citlali thing. Like, maybe Citlali's the one that should get the spot here. Because Citlali's also going to be quite good against the Crab, right? Why Citlali can you melt? Isn't it a white shield? Yes and no. So, I don't know if you can melt. I think you can because it's not a white shield. It's a new type of shield where it's not actually a shield. It's like an indicator on the health bar that moves down. It's weird as fuck. But you're not even trying to hit it. In non-lunar teams, you target the birds, not the Lord. You want to group the birds and kill the birds. Because if you kill all 4 birds, the Lord's shield breaks. So you need to be able to do 2.3, 2.4 mil. 2.3 mil-ish AoE damage with grouping. What Versa team can clear the Lord then? It's going to be a struggle for Versa, I think. Because her teams don't slot in grouping easily. Flint targets both. It doesn't matter. Because the amount of HP that this shield has is 45% of the Lord's HP. But it takes 300%. It takes 3 times lunar damage. So 4 lunar teams that do pretty much only lunar damage like Flynn's, this is 15% of his HP. And the birds are 18% of his HP. So you will literally, even if you're hitting perfect AoE, you will break the shield of the boss before you even kill the birds. So it doesn't matter that it's AoE. I guess technically this means that if you're in AoE and you group the enemies properly, you could do like a weird crit ratio on Flynn's where you get like 70% crit instead of 100. Because as long as one of the enemies receives crit for all of their hits or most of their hits, it's as if all of them did, right? You literally only need to kill one of them. Either the boss or one of the 4 summons. So his optimal crit ratio is probably not 100% anymore. Like, he probably doesn't want to run 1 to 2. He probably wants to run like 1 to 3 or 1 to 4. Any gene tech available? I don't think the dogs can move vertically. I think they can only move horizontally. It's probably Skirk, honestly. Skirk is probably good enough against the crab. With like Singto or Yelan? Probably not Yelan. It's probably just Singto. Well, maybe Yelan is fine. I don't know. What about Viridescent Hunt for the dog CC? The birds spawn too far away from each other. Viridescent Hunt straight up won't even group 2 of them, I think. Does Never clear Trooper and Dire? Actually, maybe. Don't know if you're getting there with the traditional teams, though. If you don't have Inefa. Because getting through the shield might be rough. Maybe you're fine, honestly. I'm not sure what the breakpoints are exactly. Yeah, I guess Columbina's enough. Columbina has lunar charge damage herself, so you should be fine for the shield. I think these are probably the top 10 units of next Stygian. At least the top 10 5-stars. Are they sorted? No, they're not sorted. How would you sort them? I mean, it's difficult to sort them because it depends on how much you value the ability to do this versus the ability to do this, right? Because it's different bosses. Because there's multiple bosses that are difficult. What would be 3 ideal teams that could clear Dire at C0R1? I don't know if there's a team that can clear this at C0R1 in Dire. Maybe? I don't know if Nefer gets there, man. Bro, 2.3 million is a fucking lot. Null-Cry teams with Columbina. Bro, the Null-Cry teams with Columbina, in footage of people that I've seen, are barely clearing Fearless, okay? Lord will not be a breeze with lunar characters. Not at all. Never can 100%. I clear Sigurd with C0R1. I mean, Sigurd has 16 million HP. This has 2.4. Or this has 24 million. And it has an actual stall phase, during which it just, like, disappears for, like, 5 seconds. And it screws over your rotations. Like, I don't know, man. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that good builds, optimized stuff, will be able to get there in Fearless very easily. But, like, I do think that clearing Dire C0R1 will be difficult. Very difficult. Because, like, C0R1 isn't actually that well-defined. Like, if you only have your Sig on your carry, that's C0R1. But if you have your Sig on everyone, that's also C0R1. So sometimes C0R1 will clear, sometimes it won't. You know? Anyways. Will kill Phyllis on your alt? Can't deal with this. So no. Don't have a Hydro carry. Not much I can do about that. Get Niviled, true. Should have gotten Molani. You're right. He's right. He's right. I think this is probably reasonable, right? Like, this is not the Stygian for Pyro carries at all. You know, the really funny thing is, I think at, like, high investment, Lunar isn't that much better than non-Lunar for this. As long as you have a grouper on your team, dealing with the dogs shouldn't be that much of a problem. 1% is a lot, but you don't care about this, right? This means you have to deal 15% of his HP as Lunar damage, or 18% of his HP as AoE damage. Right? There's not that much of a difference between the two. Can Venti do it? Probably not. I wonder if Razor could do it. I don't think his AoE is big enough without grouping, and I don't think his grouping teams are going to be good enough. 12 mil HP with Razor and Venti? Yeah, that's going to be a little rough. I wonder if Razor without Farina can do this one. Oh, I say without Farina. Razor without Hydro. I wonder if you can do this one. Probably not, right? Not enough of your damage is Electro, so you're probably not going to be able to break the shield. If all of your damage was Electro, you'd be able to. Maybe with Fischl, you... No. Well, with Chivalrous German, you do have a lot of shreds. I mean, I'll try it. I think I'll have fun with it, but probably won't clear. Maybe. Child, what if it just clears? What if Razor's just enough? Also... Oh, yeah, no, actually, never mind. I was gonna say, what if Molani clears, but you can't vape white shields, unfortunately. If you could vape white shields, I think Molani could have cleared. That'd been really funny. Sethos clears too? I wonder if Sethos clears without Inefa. Maybe Sethos with Columbina, but like Sethos without an All-Cry 5-star? I don't know. Seems a little rough. Because Sethos' good teams don't run Hydro units. Other than the lunar teams. And I don't think Sethos has the damage to brute force through this. Can Flins clear the first boss with just Ino, Sucrose, and Fischl? I don't know, honestly. I think I know Durin and Fischl does. I know Sucrose and Fischl, I'm not sure. Yeah, and you're playing no sustain. I don't think it's that bad against this enemy, though. Can Nefer teams without Llama clear the Lord? I mean, Fearless Lord with Columbina, maybe. Hopefully. Can Electro Carry without Electro Charge clear Shock Trooper? They need to have enough front-loaded damage to break the shield. So, some of them can, some of them are going to struggle. Versa gets there very easily. Maybe Durin is enough to make Sethos able to do it, honestly. But Sethos' damage isn't really front-loaded. I guess it can be, but it's not that front-loaded, honestly. And there's also more non-electro damage in his teams. Can a C2 Versa do Dire Lord? The biggest problem with Versa against Lord is that her AoE isn't big enough to hit all 4 birds, I think. And Versa's teams that run a grouper are a lot worse. Can Nevida clear Crab without Farina and Llama? I mean, with only one of them very easily. Without either. I mean, if you have Columbina, yeah. But if you're looking at like pretty budget Navidad team where like he's the only 5-star, I don't think so. Maybe with Mona, that's a good point actually. Maybe like Mona, Sucrose, Kachina. Kachina's pathetic there though. What would you run instead? With Mona, Sucrose? Auroron? Does Auroron do anything? Not really. He buffs Navidad's attack, that is true. Shilonen. We're talking about teams that aren't using other limited 5-stars. Alright, I'm allowing Mona, because you can just get Mona from the selector. I don't know. Maybe just Shangling, honestly. No, because you don't get a 3rd stack if you bring Shangling. Right, because you get the stack from Pyro, just from the enemies being Pyro. I guess you just want something that helps you break the shield a little. I guess Auron would work then, sure. I'm trying to think of, like, what sort of Molani teams you would do here. That would be the best. I mean, it's probably just Sucrose, Mona. It might actually be Xiangling. Because Xiangling can allow you to vape the double hits, right?